Good morning, good day. It's my pleasure to be here and to talk today about seamounts and abyssal plain benthic habitats. I would like to thank uh, all people who prepared the information that helped me to be able to prepare this talk. The overview of my talk, I would tell about fauna of seamounts, fauna of abyssal plain, some aspects of spatial distribution and biogeographical affinities, and what gap in knowledge what we need to do to learn more about these habitats. There are some information about microorganisms from seamounts, but quite limited from mainly from Japanese and Chinese area, and it was shown that microorganisms sampled from cobalt crust have much higher richness and diversity than organisms that were sampled elsewhere around. And the main microorganism it seamounts are archaea, not bacteriums like at water samples. There was some additional studies of microorganism at Kawei Gayot in Chinese claim zone, and it was shown that actually the microorganisms from the top are quite distinctive from these from base, and similar bacterial community inhabit the similar depth gradients, and they have different function. Studies of Meiofauna were also done, but they're quite limited, and they've been done at Kawei-Gayot. It was at least two samples published, but they showed the normal distribution of Meiofauna, with nematodes being the most diverse group in the samples. In contrast, it Xufugayot, Meiobenthos communities was shown that the most diverse group being Copepoda, and the mostly concentrated, the animals being mostly concentrated the first centimeters. Fauna of benthic invertebrates being done in a part of contract works. They've been done quite long time in work of Shirshov Institute of Oceanology of Russian Academy of Sciences, and it's been done by in cruises of Vitis, in cruises of Dmitry Mendeleev, and what is maybe the most important, the last cruise was cruise of academic Mstislav Keldysh. But in most of these works, in these expeditions, in these cruises, the most studied being megafauna. There is a long list of benthic invertebrates reported from this area, and you can see that it mainly sponges, dema sponges, and glass sponges. Also, there are a lot of corals, mostly octocorals of the typical deep sea family of Grisagorgida, Primnaida, and Isidida, and also some Alcyanida of the genus Pseudantomastus. Also, it lists some records of black corals and also scleractinian corals, including one framework building coral Analapsamia rostrata. Apart of these two main groups of benthic that suit as habitat forming, that suit as source for as substrate or nursery for many vertebrates and invertebrates animals. We have a list of benthic invertebrates are part of corals and sponges that include sea urchins, cucumbers, crustaceans, and aphiroids, brachiopods, and bivalves. Midwater and benthic fish been also studied, and few Russian, Soviet, I would say, cruises mainly done by TINRO, it's Pacific Institute of Fishery, and it been fishing vessel Miss Yunone and fishing vessel fishery vessel Novoulyanovsk by TINRO, and in last cruise been reported more than 100 species belonging to 53 families of midwater and benthic fish. Fauna of abyssal plain is much less known. The main group of microorganisms studied from there is fungi, and mainly it was being done using genetic samples, and from 18 samples at depths below 3,500 meters, it was reported almost 2,000 of operation taxonomic units that been assigned to 7 phylums, and almost 100 of genera, and been dominated by the Dumicota and Ascomycota. However, if we will see most of taxa, if we are looking at the family level or genus level, are practically unknown to science, and they've been not assigned to the species level, the gray ones. About fauna of abyssal plain, Meiobenthos was been also studied in the same work as summits, and it was shown that it's quite distinctive from what was shown for plateau. However, when we compared because they've been living not only in the first centimeters but also below till 5 centimeters deep. But when we compare the first centimeters, it's very hard to tell apart base of seamounts and plateau. For Kaiwei Gayot, it was only one sample at the base, and it was shown it was not really highly distinctive from the plateau, and it was much more close to Kaiwei Plateau than to Central Pacific Abyssal Plain. It's interesting. Our data about megafauna is very limited, and mostly reported taxa are sponges or squat lobsters, and there is no general data about community or any special of megafauna there. However, we have some data about spatial distribution and biogeographical affinities about seamounts themselves, based on observation in 9th cruise of academic Mstislav Keldysh with visual observation done by Pisces in 2 seamounts. Itomata is that it's Veja Gayot now, and Ioan Gayot, that also known as Govorov Gayot. It was reported some patterns of fauna distribution at the depths of the first 500 meters. And it was shown that the most populated area actually is edge of the plateau or some vertical walls with higher hydrography with more turbulent pattern of with more current there, and it's habitat with suspension feeders like corals, sponges, and asteroids of the family Brusingida. About biogeographical affinities, we have to know that benthic biota, especially in the deep sea, is entirely related on surface water primary productivity, and benthic biomass are normally reflects pattern of distribution of primary productivity and patterns of particle flux to the seabed, because only 5% of the particles are normally arriving at the sea bottom. Predicted pattern of distribution in the biogeography is normally based on abiotic factor and productivity. And what we have here that the West Pacific, Northwest Pacific area is belong to the West Pacific Lower Battelle province, with easternmost part may be much closer related to the North Pacific Low Battelle province. As about abyssal plain, abyssal region, it has the affinity, it belongs to the North Central Pacific province by the wetland atoll, and it's this biogeographical provinces of the abyss is a bit different from goods we normally use, and because the North Central Pacific province it's a little bit wider in the place of the West Pacific, Northwest Pacific seamounts. What gaps we have, what things we need still know. The main problem, we still have limited sampling. The problem, we have very low number of seamounts sampled, and most of seamounts sampled, of course, they are in claim area. There are very little, almost no data outside of contract areas. Depth range is normally covered by the resource, by the minerals. So we have much more data about crust zone and almost nothing about abyss around it. And about plateau where there is no crust of interest. The depth range, yes, it's really important. Also about the size classes covered, because normally it's much easier to do photo transects and video. The size classes less than 10 centimeters is usually neglected, and there is no data on Microfauna. That's very hard to sample at the hard substrate, and very little data on Meiofauna. We have almost no data on mobile fauna, on demersal fish and scavengers. And it's very hard to compare results, because different specialists are working with different samples in the contract area, and old samples, old type specimens are normally not available for taxonomical experts who are working in contract area. We have almost no data on individual taxa. We have no idea about life cycles of the deep sea special, about their larval dispersal, about connectivity between seamounts, about gene flow. We have very little data, only about some species like some taxa like some amphipods, scavenging amphipods, and we have almost no data on communities, especially about abyss and how these communities are different from what we have in CCZ. And of course, we have no time series here. That's all. Thank you.